You've been charged with the DWI in Texas, and right now, feels like the case is already decided. The officer's report sounds one-sided, your license is on the line, and you've worried this is going to wreck your future. Well, I'm Barrett Dye. I've helped hundreds of Texans fight and beat DWI charges just like yours. In this video, I'll show you 5 strategies that can get a DWI case dismissed, what to challenge, what to look for, and how to spot the weak points the prosecution doesn't want you to see. Let's start with the very first moment of your DWI case in Texas, the reason you got pulled over. A lot of people think if you were pulled over, it must have been fair and square. But here's the truth. Police cannot just pull you over because they feel like it. Under Texas law, an officer has to have what's called reasonable suspicion that you've done something wrong. That could mean running a stop sign, drifting out of your lane, or even something as minor as a broken taillight. But here's the secret. Sometimes officers make mistakes. Really? Officers make mistakes? Yeah, they're human. They'll say you were weaving within your lane, but guess what? That's not always enough reason to pull you over in Texas. There's even case law here that says just floating within your lane one time isn't suspicious enough. If the cop can't show a real reason for the stop, then everything that happens after, the field test, the breath test, even the arrest, could get thrown out. I had a client in Central Texas who was stopped late at night just for touching the lane line, or the fog line, you know, the white line on the right side of the road? Well, we fought that in court, showing dash cam footage that proved he didn't actually cross the line. The judge agreed the stop wasn't justified. Case dismissed. If you were pulled over and it felt unfair, don't just accept it. The very first secret to getting your case dismissed is to challenge whether that stop was even legal in the first place. Let's move to the roadside. Most Texans have heard of the walk and turn and one-leg stand tests. You step out of your car, the officer asks you to balance on one foot, walk a straight line, maybe even follow a pen with your eyes. Here's what most people don't know. These tests aren't as reliable as police want you to think. The instructions for these tests come from specific guidelines set by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA for short. If the officer skips steps, uses poor instructions, or there's bad weather, uneven ground, or you're wearing the wrong shoes, those results aren't valid. I've seen cases where someone failed the test because they were nervous, they were wearing cowboy boots, or even when it was raining hard. In Texas, we can demand the officer's body cam or dash cam video. Sometimes the video shows the officer doing the test wrong, or my client doing just fine, even if the report says otherwise. In one of my cases, the officer claimed my client lost balance 3 times. We played the video where you could see he never even stumbled. The prosecutor dropped the case right after we made him watch the footage. So, the second secret is always look at how these field sobriety tests were done. They're not perfect, and mistakes often mean your case could be dismissed. This next one surprises a lot of folks. Just because a breath test or blood test shows a result over the .08 legal limit, that doesn't mean it's a slam dunk for the prosecutor. These tests have to be done exactly right, and there are a lot of ways things can go wrong. First, look at the breathalyzer. Did the officer watch you for a full 15 minutes before the test? Did you burp or regurgitate? Even using mouthwash or chewing gum beforehand can mess with the results. Breath testing machines need regular maintenance and calibration. If the machine was overdue, the whole test might not even count. Blood draws also have strict rules. In Texas, the blood must be drawn by a qualified person, and the vials have to be sealed, labeled, and stored correctly. There have been instances where that blood draw has sat in a hot patrol car for several hours on end before getting to the lab. Now, tracking down the chain of custody records and proving those rules weren't followed should get those results tossed out quick. Here's the key. If the test wasn't handled by the book, the results can be challenged. And without that evidence, cases can fall apart fast. So the third secret for getting your DWI case dismissed in Texas is to dig deep into every step of the breath or blood test. Now let's talk about paperwork. The police report is supposed to be a careful, detailed record of everything that happened. Why you were stopped, how you looked, how you acted, what you said. But officers aren't perfect. Remember, they're human too. They work long shifts, write reports after dozens of stops, and sometimes they get the details wrong. Here's a story. I was working on a case where the police report claimed my client had bloodshot, glassy eyes and slurred speech. Surprise, surprise. That makes it in all the reports. But when we reviewed the body cam, not only did he speak clearly, but his eyes looked fine. The officer had mixed up details from a different case he'd handled earlier that night. We noticed the report's timeline didn't match the video, and there was a wrong license plate number. We've been in the troughs of DWI defense work for a long time, and it's extremely apparent to us that a lot of times, officers try to copy and paste from previous reports to make the report writing go a bit quicker or easier. In Texas courts, if you can prove that the official record is full of mistakes or exaggerations, it raises serious questions about the whole arrest. Prosecutors hate having to explain why an officer's report doesn't line up with reality. Sometimes finding a few big errors is enough to get the case dropped. So the fourth secret, go through every word of your police report with a fine-tooth comb. You'd be shocked how often there are mistakes that can completely change the case against you. Here's the final and maybe most powerful secret. Sometimes the best way to win your DWI case in Texas is to play a little legal chess. Prosecutors don't want to lose at trial, so if your attorney can point out enough problems in the evidence, the officer's testimony, or the way the case was handled, prosecutors will sometimes just decide not to go forward. I had a case in South Texas where we challenged the stop, the field test, the breath test, and found 3 big mistakes in the report. The prosecutor realized that if the case went to trial, there was a good chance they'd lose. Instead of risking that, they agreed to dismiss the charges outright. Here's why this works. Texas district and county attorneys are busy. They handle hundreds of DWI cases every month. If your attorney shows the prosecution that they're going to have to fight really hard and still might even lose, they often decide their time is better spent elsewhere. We often tell a prosecutor, you've got much bigger fish to fry, let's make this easy on you and have this case go away. Sometimes that works. It's a bit like poker. You don't always have to go all the way to trial to win. Sometimes showing the other side you're ready to fight and that their case is weak pushes them to fold. That's how dismissals really happen. So to recap, if you're facing a DWI in Texas, these are the 5 secrets you can use to fight for a dismissal. First, challenge the reason for the traffic stop. Second, question how the field sobriety tests were given. Third, dig into every detail of the breath or blood test. Fourth, look for flaws or mistakes in the police report. And fifth, put real pressure on the prosecutor by exposing every weakness in their case. Each of these steps can turn a scary situation into a chance for a second shot, often without ever stepping foot in a trial. But here's something you really need to know. The Texas police do not play fair when it comes to roadside sobriety tests. They're trained to trick you into making mistakes, even when you're totally sober. In my next video, how cops use sobriety tests to trick you during DWI stops, I'll show you exactly what to watch out for, so you can protect yourself and your rights the next time you see flashing lights in your rearview mirror. You don't want to miss this. It can make all the difference if you ever get stopped. See you over there.